Good evening. We're on the Euro USD today and on popular demand are doing a 60-second trading regime. Normally we'll do 5-minute trades and above on the outside boundary, inside boundary, one touch and no touch. But today we're going to go in one straight up streak of 60-second trades using ITM Proteus for signals. We'll be looking at the direction and the probability associated with that direction, and we'll be taking the trades in every new 1-minute interval. The trade will be taken roughly 5 to 6 seconds before the start of the next 1-minute interval, regardless of the outcome. So at the moment, we've taken our first trade, having looked at the Proteus chart there that said upwards movement, high probability, and hence took the 60-second trade here. So we are now approaching the 55-second mark. We're looking at another high opportunity with a high probability associated with it. We'll be trading fixed $25 amounts on each trade. The moment the clock hits 55 seconds, we will hit buy. There we go. So we're into our second trade. The first one, we'll just go back to it now and see what's happened here. We have expired here in the money. So the first trade has been a winner, and the second trade is currently in motion. We don't know where it's going to go. Now, this is a very aggressive trading approach. There are quite a few traders who prefer the aggressive trading approach. Regardless of whether you are an aggressive trader, this is a very good example of how ITM Proteus signals can be used for very, very short-term trading, such as 60 seconds. So here we're looking at another high signal with a high probability of success coming up. So we're going to wait for the 55-second mark, prepare the chart for that outcome, and high with a high probability of success, therefore a high trade with a $25 fixed investment here. Going to wait for the 55-second mark before we engage in this trade, and will allow for the previous trade to complete with sufficient time as well. So once we hit the 55-second mark, we'll place the buy order. And now we'll place the buy order. Let's go back to the original trade, see what's going on there. We are looking at this new trade, and the old trade has expired outside of the money. No problem. It's all about consistency. We're going to keep going. We're not going to let one trade influence the remainder of the trades there. Just a bit of a screen blackout there for a second with the video driver for some reason taking too much demand from MetaTrader here. So we're still in the trade. The first one was a winner. The second one was a loss, and we're currently in a winning situation. Still 30 seconds to go with the 60-second time frame. Not exactly the most friendly of time frames in terms of steady movement. It fluctuates quite a bit, so be prepared for lots of fluctuation on the 60-second time frame. And a good strategy is to not look at the chart very much until the trade is about to expire, really, to save yourself some of the stress associated with it. I have no choice at the moment since I'm here sitting in front of you doing this. So I have to look at the chart. So we're going to engage in our next trade here. The signal there was also a low signal with a high probability of success. Let's go back to the original trade. That has indeed expired in the money here, and we'll be updating shortly on the platform to calculate and reflect that profit. This trade is a low trade since ITM Proteus has changed its direction with a high probability of success, medium probability of success. That's why we took the trade. We're going to focus on medium and high probability signals only. So if a trade shows up with a low probability, we will ignore that trade and move on to the next minute interval and see what Proteus has to say within the next minute interval. So currently we're on a a medium probability trade that is currently in the money with a few seconds to go, and the next trade is also projected as medium probability with a low direction. So just confirming what Proteus is saying here, medium and low trade coming up in the future. So we'll wait for the 53 second mark and engage in that trade the moment we get close to that time frame. So let's click buy now, and we're into the trade. The old trade has now expired. Let's have a look at what happened there. We have expired in the money. This was a low trade that was taken with a medium probability of success. Medium to high probabilities are what we're focusing on today. So currently we've executed 5 trades, of which 3 have been winners and 1 has been a loss. We're in the 5th trade at the moment. So continuing on, we now have a low trade coming up with a high probability of success, roughly 30 odd seconds remaining in this 60-second trade. And once we, again, same rules. You wait for the next minute interval, just approach it with a 5-second buffer in between, place the buy order in that 5-second buffer so you have ample time for the trade to go through into execution and start the new minute interval to use the entire new minute interval. So we're going to just check the chart here. High probability outcome with a low signal coming up. We'll wait for the 53 to 55 second mark to give ourselves ample time to execute the trade and have it go onto the platform. Clicking buy now. And the old trade has expired, so let's quickly go back and see what happened over there. This trade looks like it has expired on the money, not in the money nor out of the money, which means that we will be returned our funds by the platform. And what will happen as a result of that is that there will be no loss recorded, but no win recorded at the same time. So essentially, we have a scenario where the money has been returned to us and there's no loss that's been taken. So that money has now been returned. We're looking at $25 returned on this trade. Now, excuse the blackouts here. I'm having a bit of a driver issue with MetaTrader hogging a lot of resources at the moment, as I have quite a few other MetaTrader 4 instances running. So please excuse the intermittent blackouts. They are a driver issue I'm currently fixing. So we have now 6 trades in the picture. The 6th trade is currently in execution, waiting for this next low signal with a high probability of success pointed out by Proteus. $25 fixed investment going into the trade. Let's go back into that old trade and see what happened there. This trade looks like it has expired outside of the money since it was a low trade, but price retraced to the long side. So this will obviously be zero return. So we now have 6 trades that have been completely executed and returns processed, with the 7th trade currently in execution. And we have roughly 35 seconds remaining on this particular trade. And this too looks like it's not going anywhere for the moment. However, 30 seconds is a very long time. We chose the evening session because there's a lot more volatility on short-term time frames, especially on the euro dollar during the day, during the European session, GMT time zone. So we'll wait for this trade to see what happens up until through to expiry. We have just entered the money, so a few seconds left. Let's go check, prep the chart and check what Proteus is saying. High probability of success pointed out towards a low direction trade. $25 invested, clicking buy now at the 55-second mark to allow for execution. And once we're into the trade, let's go back and check the old trade. It has indeed expired in the money. So as you can see, this is a very aggressive style of trading. And it requires a lot of patience. If you take losses, if you are an aggressive trader and you are targeting a short time frame like this, you need to keep going if you're really, religiously following the time frame. This is not my ideal time frame of choice. However, it can get pretty exciting if you have a solution like ITM Proteus. And the only reason it's not ideal is because of the stress factor on this time frame. As you can see, it's a very strenuous approach. But ITM Proteus is practically the only thing that's making it simple at the moment. Otherwise, it would be a very, very hard task to go 60 seconds, but it's possible. So if you have a robust solution like ITM Proteus, you can engage in any time frame trading regardless of the shortness or the longness of that time frame. So let's have a quick look at the chart here. High probability success pointed out towards a low signal. We're going to take the trade roughly 5 seconds into the new interval. And we're now into the trade. The previous trade has expired. In the money here was a low trade with a high probability of success that has gone well into the money without exiting the money zone at all. So this should be updating here shortly with the profits on this particular trade. And that has now expired and the profits have been booked onto the account. We are currently in our current low signal here with a medium to high probability of success. Proteus has revised the probability for the next signal to be medium as opposed to high that it was before. We have roughly 20 seconds remaining on this trade. That's a very long time when you're trading 60 seconds, so anything can happen. The price can fluctuate well away from the entry point, or it can get back into the money and save the trade. So that is the risk you take when you're trading 60-second trades. If you have a robust solution, as powerful as Proteus, that is targeting short-term price action, 60-second trading is a more approachable affair. However, if you don't have a solution like ITM Proteus or ITM Genesis Elite, the strong advisory there is to avoid 60-second trading, as it can become ridiculously difficult if you don't have Proteus or Genesis Elite or similar solutions there to assist you with the effort. So we have now expired in the money here. Yet again, this trade has also expired in the money. We're just going to look at our currently executing trade here with roughly 35 seconds remaining. We're out of the money at the moment, but as I mentioned earlier, 60-second trades see a lot of fluctuations. So it's just a good idea to not look at the chart all the time. I don't have that choice at the moment, but we're just going to prep the chart now for the next interval coming up. Looking at Proteus, what does does Proteus say? We have a low signal coming up with a medium probability of success. That's valid. We're choosing medium and high strength, high probability signals only. So the moment we approach the 55-second mark, we're going to click buy here on this low trade. And that is now. So we've now executed the trade. Let's go back to the old trade to see what happened there. This trade looks like it has also expired in the money. The price retraced away from the money and then re-entered the money zone. That has expired now into a profitable trade. The platform should be updating this here shortly. So it is currently 21.48.14. That trade has now expired and the profit has been booked. We're now into our currently executing trade, which is outside of the money at the moment. The next trade coming up, according to Proteus, is a low trade with a high probability of success. We'll wait for this one to near expiry, and the moment we hit the 53 to 55-second mark, we are going to engage in another trade here, going in the currently advertised direction by Proteus. This trade looks like it has gone away from the entry point quite a bit. I'm not entirely sure if the 10 seconds are enough for this trade to re-enter the money zone, so this is most likely going to be a loss. We're going to focus on prepping the chart for the next trade here, which looks like a low signal according to Proteus with a high to medium probability of success. The trade has now gone into execution and the old trade looks like has expired outside of the money, so this is a loss after 4 wins there. So we're still looking pretty good. And let's have a look here. Once this trade's calculation of expiry has completed, the platform will record a 0 there, which means a $25 loss on the trade. This currently executing trade looks like it is going nowhere, but 30 seconds are a long time, so we'll wait for this to mature and see what actually happens here. Before we go any further, we are going to look at Proteus to see what's going on there. We have a high probability signal with a low focus. So let's see how this trade pans out. And actually, we've traded quite a few now, so I would call it quits at this point. Let's have a look at this trade and see what happens before we move on. So we've traded approximately 10 to 12 trades. I've lost count there, but we should be expiring here on the money, which means that we have lost nothing. We have won nothing, and the funds will be returned to the account. So this is an example of very aggressive, high-stress trading on the 60-second time frame. It is not advised to engage in 60-second trading if you are not using ITM Proteus or ITM Genesis Elite or other solutions that allow you to trade the 60-second time frame. It is a very hard time frame to trade on without Proteus and without Genesis Elite and other similar robust tools that greatly assist you in your effort on the 60-second time frame. As you saw from this trading session, we executed a very large number of trades. And we came out profitable in the end with a few losses, a few returns, which means that no loss was made, no win was made, and the money was simply returned to the account because the price was on the money the whole time, or returned to the money, the entry point, and hence did not record a loss but did not record a win at the same time. However, the majority of trades taken here were winners, which is a good reflection on Proteus and Genesis Elite being a highly robust solution for trading any time frame. So if you are an aggressive trader and if you're looking for a solution to target 60-second time frames, ITM Proteus is most certainly a solution that can assist you because it is designed around short-term price action and it can allow you to trade 5 minutes and above, but it can also be used quite consistently on shorter time frames like the 1 minute and 2 minute.